So, have you survived Thanksgiving? Welcome to Born Without Boundaries on Vimeo. Of course, this is where all the extended Zodiac specific readings happen, and you can find them right below on this page, as well as all the other on-demand pages that are available for you to grab some advice. There's so many different Zodiac specific titles that you can peruse through, and I encourage you to do so. But this page is for the week ahead Zodiac readings for the week of November 28th. As we head on into December. I hope you had a fantastic holiday. I had an amazing holiday, and I felt completely blessed by you and your presence and your constant support of the Vimeo videos as well as the YouTube videos. This is, I don't want to say a tricky week, but it is tricky. It's an emotionally tricky week. We have a full moon coming to us on the 30th, which is in Gemini. It's a full moon in Gemini, but it's during Sagittarius season, which already polarizes us with the placements of the North and South node. But ultimately, the theme of this week is emotional clarity and emotional honesty, as well as emotional freedom. The wonderful catharsis that can create in our lives, but also the conflict that can create in our lives if we rush to or jump to conclusions. If I had to summarize the best way over this week, and I will do the day-by-day breakdown, but the best way to summarize this week would be, or the best way to use the energies for this week would be, to really be able to get to a comfort zone inside of yourself, to be honest and truthful about, to be able to honestly and truthfully communicate those things that you love so much. Like, for example, we get nervous sometimes when we talk about our dreams to people who we think will criticize them, or like those butterflies in your stomach that you feel when you're about to go in for an interview or an audition to a role or a job that you really, 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 really want, but you're afraid to let yourself out because you're afraid if I let myself out, then I've really, really failed and I've really flopped if I don't get this opportunity. So it's almost like finding the courage in ourselves to not qualify our success based on somebody else's interpretation of our performance or our resume, but instead just the fact that we've been able to speak our truth out loud. There is a way to, however, speak your truth out loud, and that is not to force yourself on other people or demand that they listen, but invite them into a partnership or a communication where you're not just talking at them, because Gemini energy is really not about talking at somebody. Geminis are master communicators because they're such good listeners. So it really is about having a one-on-one conversation with somebody, but being honest about yourself in that conversation. So let's get into the day by day. So this is the week of November 28th, 29th. It includes, yes, I do. You guys know when you watch these videos, I always read off my cue because it helps me. It includes a full moon lunar eclipse in Gemini on the 30th. So the week starts off on Sunday, the 29th. That's today, with the moon in Gemini in direct opposition to the sun in Sagittarius. The sun is conjunct the south node and moon is conjunct the north node. It's a trying time when we feel in our guts how badly we want something, knowing what we want but not sure what others, if others will be accepting of our wanting it, or even think that we're good at it, right? Our egos would tell us to jump in too soon, but our instincts tell us to hold back a little bit, develop a more sound strategy. With Venus in opposition to Uranus, our desires could become impulsive, and we may jump before it's the right time. You know, it's like we know we want something so bad, so we feel like I just got to jump on it. No, you have to have faith in it enough to know when to hold it, when to fold it, and when to bet. You know, just have faith in what you want, and that you don't have to put it out there right away or so strongly. You can start talking about it subtly and little conversations with people here and there. It doesn't have to be this big demonstration right off the bat, but we will be emotionally inclined to do so. So watch out for that in the beginning of this week. Right now, it's better to listen than to speak. Ask the universe for guidance and to help you connect the dots to your next step. and then listen and be willing to accept the truth that it's telling you. Don't just ask it for advice or ask other people for advice and then throw it away. It's like, how do I incorporate that knowledge into my strategy and into my way forward? You have to work with the universe and others now. The moon is also square to Pluto now, making us doubly likely to become self-destructive because our hidden desires are rising to the surface and making us compulsive or impulsive. This is not the time to jump into anything, but to honor your feelings and ask for guidance from the universe, as well as from someone with more knowledge than you. So understand that just having a conversation with somebody, just asking, hey, I've always been interested in being an engineer, making that call and just taking advice from an advisor at a school or asking questions. That is honoring your true soul path. That is honoring your true soul purpose. Finally coming out and starting to collect information on the road that you want to continue is actually you taking steps on the road that you want to be on, right? You don't have to take big, huge leaps. It's just like getting into dance class for that first time. You don't try to do grand jetés right away. You have patience and faith enough in your love for something to learn first position, second position, third position, fourth, and get really good at it until that becomes muscle memory and you can take the next step, right? So don't try to jump into something that you'll break yourself with because you want to be on the stage already, right? Just start taking those first steps, acknowledging with those first steps, this is my life, this is who I am, and this is what I want to do. But also acknowledging the hard work that's going to have to be put into it. November 30th, this is the full moon, lunar eclipse, right? So what does that mean? Lunar eclipses are times when things change big time, especially emotionally. It's not just happening to you, it's happening to everybody. And this is a full moon in Gemini. So Gemini, full moons in Gemini are all about freedom and independence, as well as learning and exploring through connecting to different people. So this is definitely that time to open yourself up and liberate yourself, and where your emotions are going to want to be liberated and free and come out, right? But ultimately honor that Gemini energy, which means you're doing it not Sagittarius style, big and broad, but you're doing it by individual personal conversations, more quiet conversations with one person and then the other, so you can start establishing a really firm foundation for like who you really are and your emotional truth. So the full moon lunar eclipse sits almost directly upon the North Node, which happens in direct opposition to the South Node, of course. Now square Neptune, which went direct. Neptune went direct on the 28th, so just yesterday. We are all too keenly aware of what our dreams are, and with the sun trine Chiron, we feel our inadequacies to the max. But this is a good thing because it keeps us from making determinations about others that are unfair, right? If we were so hyped up on ourselves, we were like, I deserve this, I insist upon it, and you're not being good to me if you don't want to listen. No, this sort of aspect of Chiron kind of humbles us just enough to really still be open to the other person's humanity, so we don't jump at their neck, and instead we just sort of respectfully engage in conversation with them. It keeps us from making determinations about others that are unfair, making us more sensitive to our own humanity and imperfections so that we're also sensitive to their humanity, right? And we honor their humanity as well. So in other words, if we make that call and we're shaking and we know how much courage it takes us to actually make that call to the person that, we want the job from, we're not sitting there with our egos so stocked up on ourselves that we're like, no, you have to listen to me because it's taken me all this time. No, instead we're like, do you have time? I would really like your advice. If this isn't a good time, perhaps I can call back toward the end of this week. What is good for you? But, your advice would matter so much to me. Instead of insisting that I deserve this right now, we're more inclined now to have an open conversation about, because yes, you do deserve it. Yes. But it's like you're letting that sense of deserving fuel your faith instead of your aggression. And that's what's really important around this full moon. send out that resume. You know, take a chance on yourself, but respectfully and humbly approach the opportunity that you know that you want. So December 2nd rolls around, and it's a grand water trine between the moon, which is at home now in Cancer, Venus in Scorpio, right? And Neptune, which is also at home in Pisces, which is, Neptune is direct now too. We could become content in our, watch out for grand water trines, because they make you so intuitively like powerful that sometimes we can fall back and get a little bit lazy and too content in our fantasies, as opposed to finding a way to make them reality. So we could become content with our fantasies and get a bit lazy here. This energy could be used for good if we use this beautiful dreaminess to fuel our ideas for new projects and creativity, to inspire us to learn something new, instead of just losing ourselves in our inner world to escape. With Mars squaring Pluto and sextile the North Node, this grand water trine could be just the inspiration we need to step out of our comfort zone and do something that we need to do to move to our next step. So it's not like insisting, bam, I'm already at the pinnacle. No, but it's like, okay, I need to learn this before I can do this, which will help me do this. It's almost like the steps are starting to become clear, but it doesn't mean we've climbed all the way to the top of them. But if you're happy and allow yourself to be inspired and be like, oh, I could really learn something new here. I could learn, maybe I'm not so good at this right now, but this is part of my path. So I'll start taking classes here, or, you know, I'll start taking lessons here, or I'll start getting advice here, and approaching it as a question instead of a demand, approaching any conversation right now as a question and as sort of an advice consultation, as opposed to an insistence, a demand, a statement, is so much better for everybody. Just an FYI. We head on into December 3rd. Watch out for the inclination to overspend in order to compensate for hurt feelings or disappointments. This is big here. If you are feeling stuck in a situation that is making you feel bad, it will become very apparent on this day, and feelings of inadequacy can overrun you, making you feel trapped in what you don't want while watching something you desperately do want pass you by. So in other words, you may be on this first step. Meanwhile, that we'll continue with the ballet metaphor. That ballerina that's been taking lessons for 10 fucking years, she walks in and she's going to get that part because she can grand jeté and do like 10 pirouettes in a row. She's all Baryshnikov and shit. And you're interpreting that with the way things are on the 3rd, you're interpreting that as, I've missed my opportunity. I've lost. They're going to pick her instead of course they're going to pick her, because she started her journey 10 years ago. You're just starting your journey now. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get there. It just means that you're on a different step than her. And if you honor that step and use what she can do to fuel your inspiration of what you can eventually achieve, well, then you're in the right mindset with the cosmos. But if you're looking at it like, I'm passed over again, somebody's cut in front of me again, they really haven't cut in front of you. They were standing in line much longer than you, and that's why the opportunity is opening up. And just because one person gets an opportunity doesn't mean that your opportunities get taken away. This is an infinite space, and even if matter isn't infinite, believe me, there is enough for all of us. So it's not that they're taking away from you. In fact, in a lot of ways, that person that you feel is taking away from you could actually become somebody who consults you or teaches you or helps you learn and grow, if you remain very aware of your own feelings of inadequacies and use them as sort of checklists for, okay, what do I need to get better at, instead of what do I need to defend my pride. Like, that's not where you want to get stuck right now, because if you do, you will start to overspend and like fall for get rich quick schemes, and people will have you spending $5,000 on meet this CEO today and they'll get you a job tomorrow. No, you want to stay away from that. But if you get overcome by inadequacies on December 3rd, around this time, you could fall for some tonic water kind of schemes if you really let yourself get down on yourself. So nobody is your competition. Everybody is your teacher. If you keep in that kind of mindset, you will be 100% right on. With the sun opposite to the north node, we may be resistant to doing something that isn't comfortable for us, confronting an aspect of ourselves that we will still need to work on, right? Instead of having it all together the way that we want it. This isn't really a setback, but it is a setup, a syllabus of sorts, for what we'll need to learn in order to get to where we want to be. We just have to be willing to put the work in. December 4th rolls around and the moon is now in Leo. Hold on. Let's see. Let me go back. Sorry. So on December 4th, the moon is now in Leo, which puts us in a more emotionally confident position, but it can also be very emotionally needy, right? Like the moon in Leo likes to have attention and it's easily emptied, right? So when we don't get attention with the moon in Leo, we want more of it. It's like it doesn't stay full unless we're constantly at the center. So we could get very insistent upon attention, but it also is a more confident place to be. So it all depends on how aware we are of our emotional state and how we allow it to impact us and others. So the moon is now in Leo, bringing us a rush of confidence, but also a desperate need for attention. It's trine with Chiron in Aries and the sun in Sagittarius. So now there's a grand fire trine, right? We go from a grand water trine to a grand fire trine. So watch those grand trines, right? Because ultimately they kind of make the energy so magnified that it gets too intense and too easy. So right now it's like we go from being too intuitive and maybe getting lost in our dreams to being too reactionary and getting lost in our actions. So hold on. We could feel better but behave much worse, right? Because we feel more confident, now we're more impulsive. What are you trying to accomplish based on your soul purpose? So what you are trying to accomplish based on your soul purpose might be sabotaged by what you are currently doing or your current status. So focus, in other words, you may want an opportunity, but find that people are like, but you can't do this. You don't have any experience, but you're this, and you're you're a dancer, not an engineer. Like, what would you know about engineering? Well, now with the moon in Leo, it could be a very defensive position to be in emotionally. So just watch out for that, because the proper response is, I don't know anything about engineering. I have danced my whole life, but I've always loved engineering. And so what can you tell me about the first steps that I have to take to, get my bachelor's degree or get my master's degree, or what's the first steps you took, based on your experience? What's the best, what are the best schools to look into? Like, who could give me the best foundational education? Like, use people's opposition and denial of your soul purpose as a means to put them in the seat of educating you and say, you're right, I don't know. Is there any advice that you could provide? Because I know you know so much more. It's the challenge here comes from the moon's position to Uranus, where others will find you unpredictable and a bit unreliable, thinking that you don't have what it takes, or thinking that, oh, you jump around a lot. This is a huge jump. And it's almost like that they're seeing this huge jump as you being kind of flighty, and unreliable, instead of having dedicated yourself to one thing your whole life. Maybe now you're just finding your soul purpose. And so put yourself in their shoes. In other words, if somebody randomly came to you and started saying, I want to do what you do, like, how would you react, right? So there's that sense of, be empathetic to them and understand why they might think that of you. And so come don't come at them, come to them and bring them a set of ideas instead of a set of instructions or prescriptions about what you want. You're not bringing them a laundry list. You're not ordering, like they're not Amazon. You're not ordering from them. You're bringing to them a set of ideas, and you're, in other words, allowing yourself to be vulnerable, allowing yourself to be emotionally vulnerable in the presence of people who know a hell of a lot more than you, and say, yeah, I am the underdog here. How can you help? That kind of thing. You have no consistency, and they may determine that you are unreliable. So it's best to talk to them to help understand their concerns instead of just insisting that they are wrong and proving your point, or insisting that they're wrong about you. Try to have a conversation with them to understand what they feel and why they feel that way about you. And ultimately, then you'll get a lot further in that conversation with them. December 5th rolls around, which is Saturday. Ultimately, hold on a second, I want to go back because I know Mercury, I think on the 1st, right? Mercury on December 1st heads into Sagittarius. We actually have to go back there because I skipped over it, but we'll go back. December 5th rolls around. Ultimately, our fantasies are it's a sort of a summary day, to be honest with you. So ultimately, our fantasies are supposed to be inspiration for us, not just a distraction. Essentially, in new situations, be aware of the sensitivities of others and what their needs from you are. Your pride could lead you into a rejection that could have been avoided if you just didn't take someone's hesitation toward you as an insult or a criticism, but rather put yourself in their shoes. Standing across from somebody you don't know and that you're not sure of, how would someone have to act to gain your trust? Like, think of what you're a master of, like what you know that you're really good at. And if somebody that knew nothing about it came at you and was like, well, I'm as good as you and I deserve as much and this and this and this, how would you feel toward them? Whereas instead they were like, hey, can I ask you some questions because I love what you do and how you do it, and I don't know how to go about getting myself there. I'm really interested in this opportunity. Would you be willing to take some time? Like, that's a totally different, how would you feel, right? It's a totally different environment that person in the second scenario is creating, and conversation is the key to success right now. So let them lead you with the next step. In order to be trusted, you have to decide to trust in the first place. So, and it's vulnerable, right? It leaves you in a vulnerable position, but it also leaves you in an open position, and that's much more likely to gain people's trust than an aggressive position. So set the example of respect and trust, and that is what you will receive this week. The moon trine to Mars asks us to take subtle action, to persist with our consistency, not our aggression. Show up on time. Be early. Text or email a thank you after a meeting or an interview. These demonstrations of respect toward others will go a long way right now. Yes, you are in pursuit of your dreams, but you must do it through partnership with others. You can do it. You can't do this on your own. You can't. And the best way to build strong partnerships is through mutual respect and showing them that you have integrity by being consistent and following up. Let's head back to December 1st because I skipped it. I'm sorry. December 1st, Mercury is heading into Sagittarius. So it's very different than Mercury in Scorpio. It couldn't be more different than night and day. Mercury in Sagittarius wants to explore, learn, almost like philosophize. It's into big learning and like big ideas, right? And also getting inspiration from people outside of your box, outside of your little like cluster or circle, like stepping outside of it and getting inspiration from different types of people. is all kinds of Mercury and Sagittarius energy. Venus is trine to Neptune on December 1st, still in opposition to Uranus, quincunx the moon in Gemini. So irrational determinations about love and relationships could impact your decisions here. Not a good time to jump into anything romantically, or at least not insist on anything romantically. As for life goals and soul paths, the moon is now in Cancer, right? So on December 1st, the moon is in Cancer and Mercury goes into Sagittarius. So you will become keenly aware of where your emotional home is, where you feel your best and who you want to be around. It is a favorable position to Jupiter, which is also sextile to Mercury. So today would be a good day to reach out and make that call or email you've just been hesitant to make. Send out that resume, take a chance on yourself, and respectfully and humbly approach that opportunity that you want, right? So December 1st would be that sweet spot for you to actually make that call. But be humble and ask questions and allow yourself to be vulnerable on that call. And maybe the one thing that you can do is just kind of have the goal of setting up a next call or get an email so you can do a follow-up, thank you, et cetera, et cetera. But definitely December 1st, when the moon is in Cancer, you will emotionally know where you feel most at home, especially with that Mercury and Sagittarius opening you up to all these new ideas. You'll be able to find exactly, pair those two together and find exactly where emotionally you want to be and where so if you're still kind of confused in the beginning of the week, by midweek you will definitely, that confusion will start to dissipate. So you guys, please do stick around. The extended videos for Zodiac specific predictions for this week will be coming at you throughout the week. So subscribe to this page and you'll get those notifications, as well as go and enjoy the YouTube readings. Meet me over on Instagram at born_without_boundaries so we can have our daily interactions. I do a daily general reading there Monday through Friday. And there's lots of great advice coming at you. If you want this to come, this video, these weekly astrological forecasts from Born Without Boundaries to come right into your email, you can also sign up for my email list, and they'll come directly to you. But they are always so great to start off your week and sort of open up your mind and give you those cues as to which days are good to be, to just be too conscious of what's happening when. So I always hope that you enjoyed it, and I'm always so grateful for the fact that you've stuck around. Please do look for those extended videos below throughout the week. Scorpio, Sagittarius, and Libra, you'll be coming out on Tuesday. And then Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, you'll be coming out on Wednesday. And then Taurus, Gemini, and Aries, you'll be coming out on Thursday. And Friday, you will find Cancer, Virgo, and Leo all down below. I love and respect you all, and I will talk to you next week.